Welcome, everybody. In honor of July 4th and the 250th, we're playing a game of Sharp Practice today, set during the American War of Independence. We're not recreating any particular historical battle, we're just having fun, moving minis around, rolling dice. If you're interested in how to play Sharp Practice, I have a video about that on the channel. Link will be in the description. Other than that, happy Independence Day, and let's take a look at the army lists and a closer look at the table.
The British have occupied this large manor house here and set up a campground south of the road. This bridge is the vital objective here, as the Continentals and the British want to maintain control of the road, particularly the eastern run. The British plan is to send regulars up the center to secure the bridge and the road. Loyalist militia heads north, and the Grenadiers and the Rangers south. The Continentals anticipated this. They looked to deploy from the south, cut the road, occupy the stables to the north, and occupy the graveyard near the camp. Leading the regulars, we have Major Charles Graham and Lieutenant Teller, status 3 and 1, respectively. Leading the Loyalist militia, Captain Henry Staines, status 2. Leading the Hessian regulars, Lieutenant Emil Kraus, status 2. Leading the light militia, Corporal Joseph Carey, status 1. Leading the Queen's Rangers, we have Captain Pardon Murray, also status 1. Leading the Grenadiers, we have Lieutenant Obadiah Bates, status 2. Leading the light artillery, we have Corporal Josiah Hescutt, status 1. And leading the native scouts, we have Gare Wassa, status 2. Leading the state line, we have Major Cyrus Gale, status 3, and Lieutenant Francis Cooper, status 1. The light infantry, we have Captain Amos Stewart, status 2. Leading the light dragoons, we have Lieutenant Samson Webb, status 2. Leading the light artillery, Corporal Job Irwin, status 1. Leading the riflemen, Bartholomew Poole, status 1. Leading a group of militia, we have Captain Matthias Scott, status 2. And another group of militia, we have Captain Dixon, status 2. Both forces are starting at 11 force morale. First turn, first card. Blue 8, that is Captain Dixon and his militia. They deploy to the south. The British player deploys Corporal Carey and the light infantry from the large house to the north. Then it's Captain Scott's turn, with the larger group of militia deploying on or near the road. Next to deploy is Major Gale, bringing the Continental State Line right up to a fence south of the road. Then it's Major Graham's turn, who's marching the Redcoats right up the main road, ready to meet the rebels head-on. Captain Murray deploys the Queen's Rangers, heading south to secure the camp. Next is Corporal Hescutt, bringing on the light artillery. Garawassa takes the Mohawks north behind the large house. Lieutenant Webb deploys and heads westward with plans to cross the river and occupy the graveyard. Blue player plays 4 flags to reactivate the state line, move them across the road, and snap them into a firing line behind the fence at the stables. A new turn sees Captain Dixon's card drawn again. He continues his westward march as he catches up to Lieutenant Webb near the riverbank. Captain Scott leads his militia to occupy the ground at the stables north of the road. Major Graham uses his command points to have the Queen's Rangers clear the road and make way for the Redcoats as they steadily march eastward. Lieutenant Webb brings the light infantry onto the table and makes for the road. Meanwhile, Bartholomew Poole brings his riflemen onto the table and sets up behind a stone wall. The Grenadiers head south towards the camp. The Loyalist militia deploys north of the large house. Corporal Irwin brings the Continental light artillery onto the table, and Blue player finally has all of their force deployed. The Mohawk warriors try to cross the river in an attempt to flank the militia at the stable, but they fail the crossing. The Grenadiers move into the camp to support the Queen's Rangers. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kraus brings the Hessians onto the main road. After the tiffin is drawn, Blue player has the light dragoons cross the river, but they can't quite make it to the graveyard. Red player moves the regulars off the road, but can't quite cross the river. The next turn sees Lieutenant Kraus move the Hessians onto the road to take the Redcoats' place. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Webb moves the light infantry to block the road and protect the Continental left. With the redcoats in view, Poole's riflemen take a shot, inflicting only 1 point of shock. Corporal Hiskett moves the light cannon up to a wall. Gadawasa and the Mohawk warriors finally cross the river. Captain Murray has his rangers fire into the light dragoons, who suffer a single casualty. Corporal Irwin lines up the light cannon and fires towards the Queen's Rangers. Lieutenant Bates and his grenadiers fire into the light dragoons, but only cause 1 point of shock. The Loyalist militia move towards the river in a hope to follow the Mohawk. Captain Scott snaps his militia into a firing line, and they level their muskets at Gadawasa and his war party. A devastating volley sees 2 Mohawk killed and 6 shock applied to the group. They're obliged to withdraw back across the river. Lieutenant Webb and the light dragoons finally occupy the graveyard. They fire into the Queen's Rangers and apply some shock. Poole has his riflemen reload. Captain Dixon fires an uncontrolled volley towards the Queen's Rangers, killing 2 and applying more shock, forcing them to retreat back to the safety of the camp. The Grenadiers return fire into Captain Dixon's militia, causing a small amount of casualties and shock. Lieutenant Krause and the Hessians cross the bridge, with Lieutenant Webb and the light infantry in their sights. After the tiffin, the Redcoats manage to cross the river and make their way into the stables, hoping to flank Captain Scott's militia. Undeterred by the appearance of Redcoats on their left flank, Scott's men fire an uncontrolled volley into the Mohawk warriors once again. Applying a sufficient amount of shock, the group becomes broken. British player loses 1 force morale. Major Gale gives the order to fire into the Redcoats. No casualties are had, but shock is applied. Major Graham responds in kind, but his effort is underwhelming. Poole's riflemen get in on the action and fire into the British regulars, but miss completely as the stone wall provides cover. Corporal Carey and the light infantry exchange fire with the dragoons in the graveyard. The British plan on encircling them and trapping them there. The light infantry fires at the Hessians on the road. There are no casualties, but plenty of shock to go around. The Hessians stubbornly continue to march forward through the hail of bullets, and return fire into the light infantry. Captain Murray uses his lone command initiative to pull a point of shock to prevent the Rangers from retreating. However, it prevents them from firing at or encircling the dragoons. Scott's militia fire another uncontrolled volley across the river, this time at Staines and the Loyalist militia. Despite their best efforts, only a few points of shock are applied. Captain Dixon and his men cross the river in order to prevent the encirclement of the dragoons in the graveyard. They exchange fire with the grenadiers. The Mohawk warriors continue to retreat and lose the British player another point of force morale. The Loyalist militia finally return fire with Scott's men across the river. Corporal Hiskett finally brings the light artillery to bear and places more shock on Scott's militia. Using their ability Thin Red Line, the Grenadiers come out from behind the relative safety of the church and attempt to bayonet charge Dixon's men. The charge is just a few inches short. Unhappy with this result, the British player reactivates the Grenadiers after the tiffin and finishes the charge. However, it doesn't go the Grenadiers' way, as they lose the fisticuffs engagement by 3. Applying enough shock to break the Grenadiers, the British player rolls twice on the bad things table and loses 4 points of force morale. Captain Dixon's men fire into the back of the retreating Grenadiers, causing more casualties and shock and forcing them to rout off the table. Once again, the British player loses 2 points of force morale. The next turn, the tiffin comes up early. As a last-ditch ploy, the British player decides to have the regulars bayonet charge into the flank of Scott's men. The bayonet charge proved ill-fated. Despite rolling 4 times as many dice as the Continental player, the British player only rolls 1 success, while the Continental player rolls 2. The British forces took a walloping. The British player doesn't see a way to victory, and his force surrenders. The Continentals read the British plan like a book, drew them from their fortifications, and cut off the road, just like they planned to.